Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the SCAR Initiative. Today, I have a very special guest, a fellow sister queen, which I'm so excited that a bunch of my sister queens have decided to come on and talk about their SCAR that has really impacted them. And Adriane is no different. So I'm excited to introduce Adriane, and I will turn it over to you to give us a little introduction about yourself.
Hi, my name is Adriane Lash, and I am a nurse. I work at family practice here in Winston-Salem, Wake Forest Baptist. I am a wife of 21 years. Yeah, 21 years and I got three children, three fur babies, and two crustaceans. I just won an international title of I'm so sorry. Elegance International. This is my very first time competing in the international division. I'm very excited to work my title. And my platform with this is called Still I Rise, breaking the barriers and breaking the stigma of mental health disorders. So that's just a little bit about me.
Excellent. Thank you, Adriane. I can't wait for everybody to hear about Adriane's story, because what I do whenever I have people come on, we do a pre-interview form so I can get to know a little bit about their story. And I was reading Adriane's and I was just like, oh my gosh, how does a child cope with all of this trauma as an adult? And as you can see from Adriane's successes in life, nothing came easy at all, but where she has come from and using that mantra of still I rise is just evident of what she has gone through and her perspective on your story. So let's talk about your story. Can you tell us about the scar that you've chosen to highlight, why it's significant to you, and how this really all occurred?
The scar that I chose really is mental health issues such as PTSD, OCD, and depression and anxiety. And that's all scope into mental health disorders. And it's precious to me is because of the things that I had to go through as a child growing up into the woman that I am today and going to be a little bit later in life. So I want to inspire others. If I can do these things, you can do these things too. You're just gonna it's gonna give some it's gonna get hard, but you'll be able to overcome everything. So mental health disorders, it means a very, very lot to me. So
Excellent.
yes.
And so you talked about some of the things that you went through as a child. Can you talk to the viewers about some of those traumas that you experienced?
Yes, ma'am. When I was about 3 years old, I was abandoned by my mom and my dad in New Jersey. And what I mean by abandoned, my mom and daddy left me in an apartment by myself. Unknown time, not sure how long. The only reason I was discovered is because the lady downstairs, she found me, and it was in the dark and I was eating peanut butter, and she found my grandmother's name. Ready to start crying. They found my grandmother's name number on the refrigerator, and she called my grandmother name. Now again, I'm in New Jersey by myself in wintertime. My grandmother name lived here in North Carolina, so they had to travel all the way to New Jersey to come and get me. And I was about 3. I didn't see my mom name until where I was about 5 or 6 years old.
And how
So
old were
that's
you? Do you remember how old you were when you were
I
left?
was 3. I was 3 years old, and I can actually tell you what I had on. I remember having on a little white shirt with some polka dots on it. I remember that much of it. Anything else, I really can't remember. But I remember what I had on, and I remember the lady's name. Her name was Pam. I remember her name. Her name was Pam, and she called my grandma name. She took me up to her apartment, got me situated. My grandma name came down, and they had this outfit. I've got a picture. It's floating around somewhere on Facebook land, but there's a picture of when my grandmother name came and got me, and they put me on this cute little burgundy corduroy outfit, and they took a picture on the lady's chair when they came and got me. So that was about 3 years old.
Wow, wow. And do you remember the days leading up to whenever you were abandoned in that apartment? Was anything going on? Do you remember any conversations?
No conversations, but I remember growing up, my mom and my dad was an abuser. My daddy abused my mom. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. And my mama didn't do drugs. Mama didn't do drugs at all. My dad did. And my mama she followed my daddy. My daddy never did no wrong in her eyes. So I
Gotcha.
guess I can't tell you the reason why they did it, but I felt for a long time neither one of them liked me. Not just didn't
Oh,
like. I mean, it's the difference between liked and love. They
right.
didn't love me, nor did they like me, because who would leave their child by themselves? But I can't answer that. I can't answer that. But I remember it was a lot of arguments, or a lot of abuse, a lot of it. So I'm not sure what transpired, but I do remember that.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever reconnected with Pam since that day?
Well, we found out like years later. I was probably about 12, 13 years old. She passed away of cancer, if I'm
Oh,
not mistaken, but she did pass away. So she didn't have any children of her own or anything like that. So I think when I was about 12, 13 years old, my grandparents let me know that she did pass away. So she did keep in touch with my grandparents.
wow. Wow. So she was truly a guardian angel, and you had no idea what she was getting involved with, finding you, and how that would set your life on track to where you're at now. So
Mm-hmm.
I know it's some of these memories are a little spotty here and there. Do you remember what happened after you were saved by Pam and you started living with your grandparents? What happened after that point?
Well, I stayed with my granny and my papa, which I called my granny mom. So she was my mom and my papa was papa. And I was having such a great life. Loved it. Loved being with granny and papa. Loved it, loved it, loved it. They started me in kindergarten. Well, as they were starting me in kindergarten, my mom and dad came back. They came to North Carolina.
Oh,
Yeah, they came back. My grandma and them, like I said, they got me enrolled in kindergarten, got me into kindergarten. And back in them days, it was not going to courts or anything like that.
uh-huh.
So my mama and daddy had the legal right to come get me. So they got me. I moved in with
Mhm.
them. There was a lot of abuse then. And when I went to kindergarten, when I finally started, I won't never forget, her name was Miss Stanley, was my teacher. And we were sitting around, and you know how they have the children sitting around and they ask you what your name was. And they
Yeah.
got to me and I said, my name was Little Bitch. And she says, what did you say? I says, that's my name. That's what my mommy calls me, is Little Bitch. And so it was like astonished. So it's like they really had to teach me what my name was, because that's all I knew other than what my
Oh,
grandma and them called me. So that's what I thought. So let me speed up a little bit. The reason why I kind of sort of hypothetically remember that is because me and my husband, when I had my second child, Harrison, we went out to eat to Mayflower, and I saw Miss Stanley. She never changed. Never changed. And I saw Miss Stanley, and Miss Stanley was like, oh my gosh, you got babies, very proud, because she hadn't seen me since I was a little girl.
yeah.
And so she says, do you remember what you called yourself growing up? And I'm like, vaguely. So she told my husband, she says, when we had to teach her name, really, she says, because all she ever knew her name was Little Bitch. My husband started crying, because he's like, I've never known a child who thought of their name as that way. I
Mm.
said, oh my God, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's what my mama always had called me. So yeah, they came
Mm.
back, got me, went through that, had 2 houses burned down, saved a sibling. My childhood was horrible. I can't sit here and say that I had a wonderful childhood. Only time I can remember my childhood as being great is when I was with my grandparents.
Yeah.
So with growing up little, before 15 years old, I had a horrible childhood. It was bad. It was a bad childhood. But I thank God for that.
And what makes you feel that way now that you went through that and now you're grateful for that experience?
Because I know what kind of mom I'm not going to be. I know what
Yeah.
kind of husband that I wanted, and got.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can honestly say, anybody who knows me, and I am all for my children. I love my husband, but I'll tell him in a minute, don't even raise your voice. I mean, they're my all in all. I can't we just had a conversation. Me and my daughter and my son had a conversation. I can't breathe without you all. It feels like if they'll go and spend a night somewhere, I can't breathe. That's just like, I can't breathe. So it brings me back. Why would any mother mistreat their child any kind of way? Because I know how I feel about mine. Yeah. So I do thank God for the upbringing that I had, due to the fact that I was like, okay, I know that I'm not going to do this with my child. I know I'm not going to do that with my child. I'm not going to show favoritism. Everybody's going to be on the same playing field. And I know what kind of husband I want. I want a husband who's going to treat me like the queen that I deserve to be treated. Right. I want my husband to put family first, not anything else. So that's why I say I thank God for my upbringing. A lot of people don't say that, but I do. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective to know that you experienced firsthand what that neglect, abandonment, that hate was. And by no means did you knew inherently that was something you never wanted your own children to experience. Even if you couldn't put a word to it in your younger days, you knew what it was like as an adult. And you have really ended that cycle of abuse. I love being in the presence of people who are that cycle breaker. It shows the strength.
Generational curse. You got to break the generational curse. My mama didn't experience that. That's why it was kind of hard. Up until I was 23 years old, I hated my mama. I hated her. Oh my God, I hated her. Because I was like, first and foremost, I was a daddy's girl. Even though my daddy was wrong, I knew my daddy was wrong, but I was a daddy's girl. So I thought the reason my daddy did all this is because it was my mama's fault. So my mama didn't like me. I didn't like my mama. We had that hate relationship. And I'm telling you, I really did not like my mama up until I was 23 years old. And it's just like, why? I mean, why did you have me if you hated me? I mean, why did you, what's the deal? What's the deal, Nita? What's up? What is up? And she was like, when I say it was a hate relationship, she said, I love you because you're my daughter, but I hate you in the same aspect. That was our relationship up until I was 23 when I had my middle son. It was that relationship. It was very hard to live in the house with my mom. And when my mom and daddy divorced, I was 7 years old. And the abuse now my mama never abused us until my daddy left. My brother was her favorite. And he even says it to this day. He never abused by my mom, but he did by my daddy. It was just a flip-flop. My mom abused me and my sister. My sister was a preemie. When my daddy left, my sister was little bitty. She was sleeping in a clothes basket. My mom got so bad depressed, she didn't feed my sister. So I'm sitting in the bathroom with a bottle holding up on her boob, getting breast milk to feed my newborn sister. So me and my sister has a relationship like this because I thought she was my baby for a lot of years. But when daddy left, oh my God, it was just like the doors of hell opened up. It was just like, smack here, smack there, hit here, hit there. I missed a lot of school. I don't even know how I graduated on time. I missed a lot of school. We were on public assistance. I don't mind saying none of this because, again, this is the person I am today. We were on public assistance. My mama was so depressed, she didn't work. I had to go to the food stamp line and 6 o'clock in the morning, missing school, going to food stamp line to make sure we had food stamps to be able to eat, me, my sister, my brother to eat. When I say the abuse did not stop, it got worse. It got worse when it came to my mama. But one thing, you never talk bad about my dad. Never talk bad about my dad. She loved my dad until the day she died. And my dad didn't do no wrong in her eyes. Even though he abused her, he threw my mama through my grandma's front door and broke my grandma's door. The abuse was horrible. My daddy was on every type of drug that you can think of. Every type of drug. I remember one time I got a whooping. My sister was walking and daddy had his drugs on the table and my sister had put her hands in it and was playing in it. And because I didn't watch her, I got a beating for it.
Oh no.
It was, when I tell you it's a bad childhood, it was a bad childhood, but I tell my children all the time, I was like, and I don't mean, I says, I don't mean to throw it in your face. I says, but you don't understand how good you have it.
Right.
And when my sister, my brother comes around, they'll tell them, your mama had it hard trying to take care of us, make sure we go to school. She misses school, take care of our mama.
Yeah.
Y'all just need to thank God that you have a mom like you got, because yeah, it could have been a whole different way.
Oh my gosh. Now, did you have a relationship once you became of age and really you matured and understood what you experienced as a child? What was the relationship like with your parents?
It was a complete flip around. I was no longer daddy's girl. I was a mama's girl. Me and my mama got close when my middle child was born, Hairston. I had a difficult pregnancy with him, well, a difficult labor with him. My blood pressure was plummeting. His was going up. The doctor told my husband, he said, you got a choice, either your wife or your child. He had to pick and choose which one he saved. And my mom was there. She was on dialysis at the time. My mama had got really sick, and she had just got dialysis. She told Bobby, she says, I don't mean no harm. I know you're gonna be hurt if you know about your son. She said, but I only have one Adriane, one, and I can't bear to lose her. So that's when me and my mama's relationship changed, because I heard her actually saying, hey, she's my everything.
Yeah.
And then when I sit and think, even though we had a rocky relationship, my mama was there with all my births of my kids, high school graduation, when I graduated medical school, when I went the first time, when I went to school, birthdays, baby showers. My mama was there. And you know, when you sit and think of these things now, and like, we didn't get along, but I knew mama, even though she said she hated me, there's no way that she hated me due to the fact that she would have never been there with these milestones. People think, you know, I don't know what people think. I just know how I feel. I knew she would have never been there if she didn't love me at all. She wouldn't have cared. And when I say both my proms, she made sure I was cute. When I got married, she was sitting on that front row just smiling and happy. And me and her became really close. It was not a day that I didn't talk to my mama 3 or 4 times a day. Right after I had Harrison, mama stayed in the hospital with me more than my husband did. So, because I had to have an emergency C-section. So she was there at the hospital would not never leave.
Oh my God.
Never left. So when I tell you after I had Hairston, and she apologized, and it was just one of those moments, like, we just had to come to Jesus. I'm sorry. I was not the mom that I was supposed to be in. And I apologized. And I said, well, mama, I didn't make it easy on you either. I could have done a little bit different. I mean, I could have. I mean, when I sit and think, I could have done things a little different.
Sure.
But it is what it is. We let water under the bridge kind of thing. But then my daddy's relationship did the complete opposite. We didn't talk anymore. He got married twice after my mama. He went on, lived his life, forgot about us. He forgot that he had any kids at all. And still to this day, I talk to him every so often, but we don't have a relationship. My mama passed away in 2007 due to kidney failure. And that about took me out of here. It was hard to lose my mama.
That is incredible to think of. Do you know how old she was whenever she abandoned you? Do you remember?
Okay, see, she was 23.
23. So that is, it's incredible to think. Looking back, whenever, I'm sure you could remember you being 23 when I was 23. By no means that I feel like I was mature enough to even be an adult. So you think on what she was going through, the stressor she had, what she was going through, and you realize, okay, I can, not that it makes it okay what she did, but I can certainly empathize, and I have compassion for some of the experiences she was going through, because we didn't talk about those kind of things back in
Mm,
the 60s, 70s, 80s, even in the 90s, I mean, early 2000s, you got to think for decades, we don't talk about mental health. So she had
mm-mm,
nowhere to go. There's no such thing as talking about domestic violence and abuse.
mm-mm.
And so now whenever you're 23 and your relationship starts to change with her, it's different. You can
Mhm.
really understand a lot more. And
Yep.
to me, that just seems like it's just such an incredible age. She was 23 when this happened. You were 23 whenever you start to realize the relationship is changing. The
Mhm.
dynamic is shifting here.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. Because I've already, the thing is, I had my oldest before I got married. I had him in 97.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, right. What am I going to do? I didn't have like that parental guidance. I had my grandma and papa, don't get me wrong, but like a mom and a dad to really show me. Because I mean, 19, 20 years old is young to have
It
a
is,
baby,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, especially if you don't have that parental guidance. I had my grandma, papa, I had my husband's mom. She wasn't happy because we got married out of wedlock,
Mm-hmm.
but I had her and my father-in-law, but I didn't have my mommy and my daddy.
Yeah.
I had a mother and a father. People think it's one and the same. No, mommy and daddy is completely different than mother and father. Mother and father is a name on a piece of paper. That mommy and daddy is that bond. And I didn't have that bond. So I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? This is a thing to me. What am I supposed to do with it? And I got to think, I said, okay, well, first and foremost, you ain't gonna yell at it because it's crying, because it can't help that it's crying. Figure out why it's crying. I had to figure a lot of things out on my own emotionally because of PTSD. That's what that means, is post-traumatic stress. And I can't take this out on this little innocent baby. So
Right.
I grew up with my son. I didn't have much of a childhood because I had to take care of my sister and my brother. So I literally grew up with my son. I was able
Wow.
to never went to a party growing up because I had my sister, my brother.
Yeah.
I played basketball, but my mama took me off the basketball team because I had to take care of home. So I didn't get to do any of these things growing up. So, well, how did you meet your husband? Well, I was 15 when I met my husband. 15 years old. Met him when I was 15. We've been together ever since.
Wow.
Ever since. Had the utmost respect for me, sweet as he can be. I didn't like him when I first met him, but okay, that's beside the point. But he was a good fellow. He respected every part of me, did not pressure me to anything. It was no sex at all. And because I was 15, it wasn't because he was scared. It was just the fact is he had that much respect for me. Then I was like, okay, really, dude. So around about when I was 19, I was like, okay, what's going on? Too long a relationship kind of thing, because everybody around me else was having sex, but I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I had sex and had Bobby, my oldest, and we grew up together. He played football ever since I can remember. I'm talking about ever since he can walk. He had every birthday party known to me. I made sure he had a birthday party all the way up till he's 24, so up until his 21st birthday.
Wow.
He had, I mean, everything that I did not have growing up, he had. And, somebody had told me before, well, you overcompensating. I said, no, no, no. I'm not overcompensating. I just want my children to be able to look back like I'm looking back, like, okay, my mom and daddy tried everything they could to give us what we needed, but some of our wants also. I didn't give them everything they want, but I do give them all some of their wants too. So I grew up with my oldest. My oldest, he ain't no more. He was my best friend because he done grown up and done left home. And that's a good thing though. He left home.
Yeah.
He's out working. He's doing what he needs to do. Then I have my 19-year-old Harrison. Another part of mental health is he's autistic. My middle child is autistic. So that's a whole ball game within itself. That's a barrel of fun. Yeah, that's a barrel of fun. And then my 16-year-old Sporty, that's a whole different thing. She has high anxiety. So it's like, it's a lot going on, but it's something that I can manage because I know what I went through growing up. So
That's right. And it's so fantastic to know that your kids were born to the right mama and daddy in the household that they needed to be poured into to realize it's okay to have these discussions, and let's be truthful about some of our vulnerabilities and these weaknesses that we have, or some of the mental health issues that we really need to talk through, because how can you get that help if you don't talk about it? And how are you going to know what your son needs if you don't figure out that diagnosis? Because the way that his mind works is different than the way somebody else's is operating. So
Yes, ma'am.
I can't imagine, living in a household without that. So it is. Yeah, I am, man, kudos to you for being the super mom here. You're just.
Sometimes I be wondering, oh my Lord, but I'm very proud of the woman I became. My uncle and my great aunt. My great aunt and my mom was 15 years apart. So my great aunt is still living, and she sends me text messages every other day, because she keeps talking about how proud she is. I mean, she just follows with everything that my kids do and everything that I'm doing, and knowing I had to growing up. She knew there's a lot of family members, just like you said earlier, some things wasn't no, you didn't talk about.
Yeah.
But then you had those who were there in the presence of, who tried to help, but then when you try to help back in them days, it didn't help.
Yeah.
So she saw everything that I went through as a child, me and my sister and my brother, but because I was the oldest, I got the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
So she saw, and she's like, I'm so proud, because she called me Jay. She says, Jay, I'm so proud of you. I'm just proud of you. I'm just proud of the mother, the wife, the person that you are today, because I don't let mental health define me. I define it. Mm-hmm. That's what I tell my kids. You define whatever you're going through. Don't let it define you. Don't let it make you act a fool. You make it your own. So I make it my own. I'm not the typical, like when you think of mental health disorders, you think of somebody who's homeless. Mm-hmm. You think of somebody who's sitting off in the corner talking to themselves. A lot of people stigmatize mental health as those things, or somebody who cannot get up out the bed, who is not bathing. That's not always the case. Don't get me wrong, with my depression, there's times I don't want to get up out the bed. I don't want to be bothered. I want to shut my door to my room, and I don't want to be, I want to close down and just live in my box. Mm-hmm. But I also have to say, okay, I've got Bree, Harrison, and Bobby, my children, and my husband who needs me. So I do have to rise above, get myself together, like, okay, God, help me, help them to get myself together. And I do. I have to do a lot of praying. So I make the diagnosis. I don't let it make me. I make it my own. So I get up, I rise, and I do what I need to do to do what I need to do to take care of my family. Now there's times that I need to go to myself, and I do myself. I go for my walks and I do a lot of walking. So that's a lot of weight loss right there. Yeah. A lot of weight loss. But I walk, and I have to do a lot of meditating, because again, you can let this stuff eat at you and eat at you and eat at you and eat at you, but you cannot let that eat at you. There's a lot of help out here. You can go to groups, you can talk one-on-one, you can find a friend, someone like you, my sister. You can get your story out, because sometimes if you get your story out, you're helping someone else. I'm a nurse. I'm working with people. Mm-hmm. Every day. And when I said on stage, when you look at me, you don't see someone with mental health issues. You see someone that you may think that's well put together. No, not necessarily. I'm not put well together. Yes. I have stitches, a little bit of gaps within them stitches, but I'm made strong. I'm strong, and I make myself strong. Like I said, I have wonderful people that looks up to me, and I look up to them. So you don't let anything make you. You make it your own. That's what I always tell my kids.
So true. So true. It's all about, it may be a part of your life, but it's how are you going to use that to either do better for you or let it control you. So you everybody has a choice. Mm-hmm. There's a choice in everything that we do. And clearly you made some really great choices because you recognize, and you're owning that power, and you're harnessing it back and saying, this is not going to be all about me here in this particular trauma. it happened. We can't take it back, but this is what I can do to move forward. So what do you feel like, or how have these scars impacted you then versus now as an adult?
Then I did let it use me. Like, what I mean, what I want to say, I was standoffish with people. I trusted no one. I'm like, if my mom and daddy do me like this, what I'm gonna trust you for? Yeah. I trusted no one. I love my husband, but I didn't trust him at first either. I'm like, okay, my thing is waiting for that shoe to drop. Like, what's going to happen now in comparison now? Okay, take a breather. People ain't always out to get you. You're going to have people to like you and don't. Take it or leave it. So the adult I am today is like, okay, I ain't got to wait for the shoe to drop. I'm going to go ahead and pick up that shoe and take off running. Yeah. That's what kind of person I am today. Like, I'm never going to let it drop. Okay, I got it, and I'm going as a person. Again, I just cannot let my diagnosis, not my upbringing, nothing that I went through interfere with what I'm doing today. I can't let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. When I go and volunteer the hope of to help our people eat, there are a lot of families who has like single mothers who's got 5-6 kids by themselves, been in abusive relationships, going through with a child who is headstrong and mad at the world and stuff. Like, they know me. I've been with this organization for 7 years. I've been growing up with these children because my children was their age. Yeah. Hey, Miss A, how are you? I'm doing good. How are you doing today? Don't worry about me. How are you? I sit and I talk to these children. I talk to these mothers. I'm like, hey, it's gonna get better. Please believe me when I tell you it's gonna get better. Let's do a little roadmap. What you want to do, how you want to do it. And I help them. When I go back that next weekend, I get all my resources to help them. This is what I got for you. Try to do this and try to do this and see if it'll help you. So what helped me is having somebody, just that one person, just to help me, just like, you're fine. It's going to be okay. And I had one person who told me that, and that's my husband. And I mean, seriously, right. That was my husband. He says everything, because he saw the abuse with his own eyes before. He saw my mama punch me in my face, and it was embarrassing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we sat in the car, and I was crying. He says, but it's okay. I ain't going nowhere. We're gonna work through this thing together. We're gonna figure this thing out. And just having just that one person who is right there in your corner. Yeah, I'm telling you, sky's the limit.
That's what everybody needs, is that one person. Even if it starts with you starting to trust yourself, it's going to open up that door to being able to show other people, I want to let you in. I want to know that you're there for me, whatever that may be. Having that one person in your corner can make a world of difference. And goodness, if that's not the truth, a lot of kids today need to hear that message, that it is going to get better. It will get better. It may get worse, but it's going to get better. It will get better. Yeah. My husband and I work with a lot of kids in our church who needed to hear these messages of, they come from broken homes. Most of them do. And they don't have anybody to hear it's going to be okay.
And then like having it at home, and then you go to school, having to worry about being bullied. It's just, it's hard. It's a heartbreaking thing, because like Bree's 16 and she comes home and tell me all of these things that some of these young people go through. I'm like, oh, that sounds like me. She says, and I talk to them, Mama. I tell them everything that happened in your life, and just tell them, like, Mama Lash really went through that. Yeah, my mama, you can ask my mama. She's not scared to talk to you about it. So, because a lot of people call me Mama Lash, and she's like she'll bring them home, or we'll FaceTime or whatever. And like, well, what did you do? Well, what did I do? Was asked for being bullied. I says, you're not a tattletale. Tell it. I said, I'd rather for you to tell it than you to hurt yourself. I said, Mama Lash will hurt so much if you hurt yourself, because teen suicide is real. Yeah. It is so real. It's so surreal. My eldest son's best friend committed suicide because of his home and because of him being bullied. And Bobby didn't know that he was going through so much at home, but he knew what was going on in school. So he got in a lot of fights. He was taken up for his friend, and then his friend ended up committing suicide when he went to college because it didn't get better. So, it's not just the older people, it's really the kids, due to the fact that they are our tomorrows. If they all commit suicide, then we won't have a tomorrow. So we got to start with our kids. Yeah, we need to do some of the adults, but a lot of us are set in our ways. But my thing is the younger girls, younger guys too, because guys get abused too. But my main focus is when I want to talk about mental health disorders, depression, anxiety, because it's not just depression, it's not just schizophrenic, it's not bipolar, it's a scope of different things. I want them to know it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. There's things out here that we can do. So there's people who reach out like, oh my gosh, thank you. Hey, that's what I'm here for. It ain't just because I'm a nurse. I love people. I've always loved people. I don't know why that happened because of the things I went through, but I love people. It's something I want to do. So when I became a nurse, that was just the icing on the cake kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't help heal here. I heal here and I heal here. So I love what I do.
I love that. I love it. You have such a articulate way of being able to express how important it is to talk. It doesn't matter what you say, you just need to talk, just get it out, find a way, because the words will come, but you just need to reach out and to know that somebody cares. Not everybody is going to hurt you. You gotta find somebody to trust. It's going to take a lot of courage to do that, though. No one's going to say this is going to be easy, but you need to do it for here and here. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. So it seems like that this has been a big part of your healing journey. Can you talk to us a little bit about your healing journey with your trauma?
Well, my healing journey, again, talking about it is a big key. It's a big key. Me and my sister and brother, one time in our life, we were close, but we wasn't close enough to talk about what happened to us growing up. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat. I went and talked to a therapist. I had to talk to a therapist because all that trauma growing up, I didn't want it to affect me as an adult, but then there were things along the way as an adult that hit hard too. Like my husband's sister was my best friend. I had just found out I was a nurse and she passed away in my hand. She had a massive heart attack at the age of 36. And I was myself with her doing CPR. So that is another trauma. Well, how do you get over that? I talk about it. You don't dwell on it, but you talk about it enough to where you're not dwelling on it, but it's like a relief to you. So you won't go to bed with this overwhelming feeling, because when you go to bed with all of this stuff, it's going to come out one way or another. It's going to be a good outcome. It's going to be a bad outcome. I wanted mine to be a good outcome. So I'll sit and talk. I went and found me a therapist, and I sit and talk to my therapist, and they told me you're doing the right things by talking. And like you said, talking, people don't think that helps, but it helps. You ain't got to talk to somebody that you know, because sometimes people that you know can kind of be judgmental. That's like, right. Well, that ain't that bad. But then to you as a person, that's bad. So going out finding someone that you can talk to that's not biased, don't know your situation, just for them to sit there like, okay. Well, how are you handling this? Well, I go out and walk, I sing, I dance, I do this, I do that, I go retail therapy. I don't do that because I'm poor, so I don't do the retail therapy.
Right.
But I do things like, for instance, I like the color. That was one of the things, like, especially when I'm having a really down day, I'll go and get those adult coloring books and color. Yeah. There's different ways that you can manage stuff. So you manage it, but the main thing is really talking to, whether if it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And I have both. I don't, again, I'm not sugarcoating anything to anyone. I have a psychologist and I have a psychiatrist, because psychologists are the ones you sit and talk to. The psychiatrist, okay, so you really may have a chemical imbalance. Let's get you chemically back in balance. And yes, I take medicine. But that's not make me happy, sad. It's just because I do have a chemical imbalance. It's because you got to think, growing up, you grow up so quick, your hormone, your testosterone, your estrogen, it don't kick in like it's supposed to. So I'm having to get myself back on track with everything. So and then when a woman has a hysterectomy, total hysterectomy, that really throws your off. So therefore, I am taking this like a hormone type medication to help me get back on track to where I won't be so sad down, depressed, or blue. I have to ask those questions all the time with my patients. And, they got patients look at you, why are you asking that? Well, let me tell you my story.
Yeah.
Do I feel sad today? Yeah, I feel pretty sad today. Do I feel depressed? A little depressed. Do I feel blue? Yes, I feel blue. But I'm here to take care of you. So let's get this, and that's how I talk to my patients. And then that gets them, because there's some patients who don't want to talk about it. But when I start talking about me, and it ain't always like about me, but then when I'm looking at you and I'm like, oh, you look sad, I'm perceiving it, and I can hear the tremble in your voice, like you want to bust out crying.
Yeah.
So I tell them a little bit about me, and then they're more willing to be able to talk. So therefore I can go tell the provider, hey, this is what's going on with this person. Give them the heads up. I didn't have that at first. My husband was the one that said, Sexy, I think you really needed to go talk to somebody. He said, you got so much stuff that's on you. He's like, you've had it for a long time. He says, and I'm going to be biased. I need you to go talk to somebody. And that I did. And when I did that, that was the longest. It was supposed to have been an hour. It was a 3-hour visit.
Wow.
Because she was like, I just can't cut this session off. It's no way. You have a lot of stuff that you went through and nobody's really ever talked to you about it. When I tell you that was a relief to my soul, that was a relief to my soul. And I really didn't come out telling people about me being depressed, PTSD, to probably about 2 years ago. I was ashamed, very ashamed, because again, I feel like people was going to judge me. Yeah. But little did I know they wasn't going to judge me on a bad way. They was like, oh my gosh, you went through all that and you still the person you are today. So how I handle that, I talk to people, let them know, hey, this is what can happen. That's right. One or two things. You can let it ball you up and you be curled up in a ball. Yeah. Or you can just tell your story. Also, because I'm somebody's testimony. That's what I always tell people. I'm somebody's testimony.
Yeah, you are.
I'm somebody's testimony. Somebody is waiting for somebody just to say, you're okay. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. We're all abnormal. I don't want to see a normal person.
Because what is normal anymore? I feel like the more that we are open about it, the more we realize, okay, there is one perfect person in this world at all, not even close. And we have more in common than I think that we realize. It's about opening that door, that conversation, and being able to say, let me be vulnerable for a second so that this person can find some peace in their soul, because it looks like they need it.
Yes. And what I love about the provider I work with, I was upfront with her. I said, this is what's going on with your nurse. There's days I'm going to have, every day you're going to see me, you're going to see a smile on my face. Yeah. But there's days when even though I have a smile, if I'm a little standoffish, it's not nothing that you've done. It's just because I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm a little sad today. Sure. And then I went on to tell her, this is ABCD. She says, well, do you mind if I tell my patients? At first I was like, no, I don't want you to tell nobody. No. They would never think of me the same.
Right.
It will be fine. She's Irish, okay? So she'll say bloody hell in a minute. Bloody hell. Nobody's going to think of that. I said, oh no, Dr. H, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. So she said, let me do it with this one patient coming in today. I know what she's going through. I said, okay, just this one patient. Went in there. She told the patient. She had me go back there and had me go back and talk to the patient. She had the other nurse room, the other patient, so I could talk to this particular patient. Yeah. And the patient today is fine, going to see a therapist and doing wonderful. Just got married. What's this month? November. She just got married in September.
Oh my gosh.
The older lady. It's just because she was going through so much and she felt like people was going to judge her. So it kind of opened that door for me to be able to trust people that I won't get judged. And that's what's going on, because people think you're going to get judged. So that's why I want to say, breaking the stigma of mental health disorders, breaking that stigma, because people do think that, because you're schizophrenic, you're homeless. You're bipolar is that, oh my gosh, you're going out here and have sex with every Tom, Dick, and Harry out here, or you're curled up in the bed. You anxiety, you scared to go out. You're autistic, you headbang. That is not the case. So that's why I love my platform. Oh my God, I'm very proud. I love my platform. Breaking the stigma of mental health disorders. Still I rise. You rise above everything. I just love it.
Oh, Adriane, it gives me chills to hear your story and to just recognize you have been through so much, put a name to it, call it out for what it is, and you are still embracing it in such an incredible way. I mean, it's such a powerful tool to use and to take back and to say, I am now defining you. You will no longer define me. Not going to do it. It's stopping here.
That generational curse, because again, like I said previously, it was not, mental health was not on, you didn't talk about that. And the word that the older folks, they kind of slow in the head. No, that's not the case.
Right.
I mean, still a lot of the older generation who thinks that it is not the case. That's why I said I'm wanting people to see it's okay. Don't let it define you. Just like we said, you define it. You make it your own. Okay, yeah, I'm depressed. I have depression. Okay, and your point. That's how like my Harrison. He says, I'm autistic. Autistic doesn't have me. I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. I don't bang my head. He said, I just learn different. I just don't understand what everybody feels at times. He says, so I have autism. Autism doesn't have me.
Oh.
And he's 19, grade to graduate this year.
That's fantastic. Yes. Awesome. I'm so proud of him. I mean, because he gets that. He gets it. Even if he may not learn the same way as somebody else does, he learns it for himself in the way that he understands it and conceptualizes it, and it makes sense to him, and he puts it together, and he knows it. He's an intelligent kid. Good Lord. He was much more mature than I was at 19, I can tell you that.
And me too. Okay, me too.
It sounds like you got yourself some incredible kids, and you should be so proud. I know that you're so proud of what they have done, what you and your husband have done together. Amazing. Thanks. So what final message or takeaway would you want viewers to have of your story?
I was once told, what would you tell your younger self? I would tell my younger self, you will be fine. You will be just okay. It's going to be harder than hard, but keep your head up. Don't look down. Keep your head up, because that's where your help comes from. Keep your head up. You'll be just fine. So that's my takeaway. Keep your head up. It's going to be hard, but I'm telling you, in the end, it's going to be the best reward ever. Because my scars is the invisible scars. It's not the scars that you can see. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying. Not the scars that you can see, but it's my scars. But I'm opening myself up for you to see that this is a healing thing for me. Every time I tell my story, it's a healing thing. Like right now, I got cold chills, and I'm happy. I'm happy of the outcome of my life. So the takeaway is it's going to be fun.
I get chills every time I hear a story, every single time. And most people, I think almost every time I have spoken with someone, it's the same recurring theme of talking about it has been so healing, or I didn't realize how talking to you about this would just be so therapeutic and just a relief to know I'm getting it out there. Whatever may happen with it, you're just talking about it, and somebody has got to hear that testimony. It's powerful. That connection is needed. Wow. Well,
It is.
Adriane, can you tell us, do we have a Facebook page or anything like that where some of the viewers can connect with you and follow your platform?
My Facebook is Adriane M. Lash. Just look up
Okay.
Adriane Lash, and my public page, which is my pageant page, is Elegance International 2020 to 2021 2022. You can go follow me on that journey. And Instagram, it is the same. It's Elegance International 2022. So just look me up. If you pull up Adriane Lash, you'll find me. Just look for this right.
Well, you heard it here, everybody. You can find Adriane on Facebook and Instagram. That gorgeous face. You can't miss it. I will be sure to include the links to your public pages so people can follow your journey. I really want to encourage and support Adriane and her endeavors with International American Elegance. If y'all have seen Adriane at Nationals back in October, I mean, owned it. Owned it, girl. You were fantastic. And if people knew what you were going through there too. And I mean, none of us were just like, oh my gosh, is Adriane okay? And girl, you did fantastic.
Yeah, I just had surgery.
Yes.
2 weeks prior to me coming.
Yeah.
So I was like, my daughter's like, Mama, you got this, you got this. I was like, I'm not. I said, I don't think I can, because this 16-hour drive from North Carolina today. I said, I don't know. She said, I'll drive. We're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to be just fine. So and that's when that depression hit into the anxiety, because I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to win. I'm not giving my best foot for it. And you got those doubts. And you got everybody else that's got high hopes for it. And you sitting there like, no. But then I was like, okay, I got this. I'm just going to go have fun. At that point, I was like, look, it is what it is. I'm going to go out here and have fun.
Yes.
Again, I defined it. It didn't define me. At first, it was started to define me.
Right.
But then I defined it. Said, okay, I'm going out here and have fun. It is what it is. So I'm like, oh, when I won, they called my name. I'm still in shock about it right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, if you could have heard us backstage just screaming and yelling, we were all in the dressing room just, Adriane won! We were so excited for you. And I can't even remember because it was all kind of such a blur. But when we knew, we heard your name and holy cow, if you just knew.
And you said she had to hold breathe.
Yeah.
You said she had to hold breathe from coming up on stage.
You did awesome. And people, Adriane is an incredible example of what it's like to own your trauma. You can still have your doubts. You can still overcome that fear. You're still going to have all these things happen to you, but it's how you harness that. And Adriane, you did awesome. Look at you with your crown. You had an invisible crown. You got a real crown. You got all of it. So fantastic. Love it. Thank you so much, Adriane. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.